Kindergarten, today we're going to learn about this mathematical tool. This is a maths tool that helps us work with numbers and build our number sense. It helps us supertise, figure out small combinations to make a bigger number. It helps us have a play and discover more about numbers. This mathematical tool is called a Rekenrek. That's an odd word to say. Have a listen to how I say it again. A Rekenrek. You have a go of saying it. Maybe it might help if I break it down. Rekenrek. Have a go of saying Rekenrek. It's a funny word to say, isn't it? This might be the first time you've heard this word. A Rekenrek is a mathematical tool that was first made in the Netherlands, a different country from where we are. Maybe you've seen something similar to this before, but slightly different. Well, there are lots of mathematical tools out there. Maybe you've had a play with an abacus before. An abacus has beads on it, just like a Rekenrek, but usually there are more beads. You may have played with an abacus that has colourful beads on it. You can also see abacuses that have dark beads or brown beads. Did you know that an abacus helps us count with numbers too? But there are more beads. A Rekenrek is slightly different. It only has this many beads. What do you notice about this Rekenrek picture beside me? Take a look at it and tell somebody nearby, what do you notice about a Rekenrek? What do you see? Or what do you wonder? Maybe you have some questions about it. Have a short chat about a Rekenrek now. Kindergarten, humans have been using mathematical counting tools for thousands of years. Long ago, we didn't have a Rekenrek or an abacus or a calculator or counters or teddies to count with. So humans used lots of other resources. How creative! Mathematical problems still existed, but the way we solved them looked a little different. Long ago, they wouldn't have had a colourful abacus or a red and white Rekenrek. They wouldn't have had colourful plastic teddy bears or counters that they could move. But they still needed to be able to use tools to help them solve maths problems, just like you do, little mathematicians. So long ago, they would have used other ways. Look at some of these ways beside me. You can see tools from long ago. This shows us that mathematical tools have changed over time. It's very interesting. A Rekenrek is a mathematical tool that we're going to learn a little bit more about. It helps us because it doesn't have as many beads as what we need on an abacus. It just has 20. We can use a Rekenrek to make numbers, discover different ways to represent numbers, talk about small parts in numbers, and supertise by looking at chunks. Do you think you could make a Rekenrek, little mathematicians? It could be a bit tricky. We are pretty good at making things though, and we're good at problem solving. If we haven't got a Rekenrek, we need something to pretend to be our Rekenrek today. Maybe you have a pipe cleaner or two and some beads that you could thread onto it. Maybe you could use a printout of a Rekenrek and slide some counters onto it. Today we're going to have a play with a Rekenrek, so you're going to need to have your own Rekenrek in front of you. You can make one, or you can use a printout of a Rekenrek and use two different coloured counters. You want it to look like this. You can see there are 5 red counters on the top and then 5 white counters. Then you can see the same underneath, 5 red counters and 5 white counters. If you don't have these coloured counters, just make sure you have 5 in one colour and 5 in a different colour. Then underneath, 5 in one colour, 5 in a different colour. We can still use our finger to move our counters along, and that's the goal today, to make sure we can replicate a Rekenrek. We want to use something similar to a Rekenrek. I'm going to let you get yourself organised and get your version of a Rekenrek ready so we can talk about this mathematical tool a little bit more and have a play with some numbers and find out some more about numbers hiding inside them and supertising.